1944, you know, our armies in the ETO had made the great breakout at the St. Lo battlefield. And so he was on that. The ship was hit by a kamikaze plane. The ship had taken the after elevator down. These carriers had two elevators, one forward and one after. And you could take a plane down aft and put it on the flight deck, and you could bring a newly repaired plane up forward on the forward flight, on the hangar deck, and bring the other one up on, so you could do two elevators at a time. Well, the after elevator had been taken down for a damaged plane in the battle. The kamikaze plane came over. I know it's true, so help me God. Because my name is, what, Abe Fink? No, I'm kidding. It's true. Kamikaze plane had the St. Lo in its sights. It came down in a steep dive. When that after elevator had reached the hangar deck, that plane went in to the open elevator. Now, the ammunition on those ships was stored in the stern. And that plane exploded on the hangar deck, killed about 6 mechanics and torpedo man, and ignited the explosion of the rest of the ship. She went down in about 8 minutes. Lost about 700 men. Now, I'm talking to this guy upstairs on the 3rd floor, having an interview, and I said, but, what happened to you? He said, well, I was lucky, I was a gunner's mate, and when we started to list, he said, I ran up to the high side. They'd thrown lines over the high side as the ship was going down to the starboard side, the right. He said, I grabbed one of those lines and I went over the side. I was on the bridge with my binoculars. I saw the ship go down. I saw men go over the side. I saw that man go over the side. And here we are, 64 years later. I'm interviewing him, and he's telling me his story. Can you believe it? I know you've run out of gas. I've gone over the time. I just wanted to say one thing, and then when Tony's through, I have one last shot.
The aftermath. Taffy 3 did its job. Admiral Kurita turned back. To this day, writers in the Japanese Navy will criticize Admiral Kurita because in the fullness of time, people now know what force was opposing him. And under most circumstances, he could have just knifed through them like a knife through butter, hot knife through butter. But for the courage of Ted and his shipmates, hundreds of thousands of Americans were saved, and the war ended a lot sooner than it would have otherwise. And there was a price to be paid. 1,000 sailors were killed that day, 1,800 wounded. We lost 2 escort carriers, the St. Lo, as Ted so vividly described, the Gambier Bay, the destroyers, Johnston and Hull, and the destroyer escort, Samuel B. Roberts. The great historian, Samuel Eliot Morison, in his History of the United States Naval Operations in World War II, wrote about this battle, and I quote, "In no engagement in its entire history has the United States Navy shown more gallantry, guts, and gumption than in those 2 morning hours between 0730 and 0930 off Samar." I'd like to read to you Presidential Unit Citation. "For extraordinary heroism in action against powerful units of the Japanese fleet, during the Battle off Samar, Philippines, October 25, 1944. Silhouetted against the dawn as the central Japanese force steamed through San Bernardino Strait towards Leyte Gulf, Task Unit 77.4.3 was suddenly taken under attack by hostile cruisers on its port hand, destroyers on the starboard, and battleships from the rear. Quickly laying down a heavy smoke screen, the gallant ships of the task unit waged battle fiercely against the superior speed and firepower of the advancing enemy, swiftly launching and rearming aircraft and violently zigzagging in protection of vessels stricken by hostile armor-piercing shells, anti-personnel projectiles, and suicide bombers. With one carrier of the group sunk, others badly damaged, and squadron aircraft courageously coordinating in the attacks by making dry runs over the fleet as the Japanese relentlessly closed in for the kill. Two of the unit's valiant destroyers and one destroyer escort charged the battleships point blank and, expending their last torpedoes in desperate defense of the entire group, went down under the enemy's heavy shells as a climax to 2.5 hours of sustained and furious combat. The courageous determination of the superb teamwork of the officers and men who fought the embarked planes and who manned the ships of Task Unit 77.4.3 were instrumental in effecting the retirement of a hostile force threatening our Leyte invasion operations, and were in keeping with the highest traditions of United States Naval Service. It's been truly an honor and a privilege to have spent some hours talking with Ted, and he gave me access to his scrapbook. The pictures from the presentation were from his personal scrapbook, and thanks to a scanner, I was able to share them with you tonight. I hope that you enjoyed it a tenth as much as I have. It's been a real privilege, and thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
And one last surprise, there's a contest. Who gets to find out who is Ted in this picture? Who can name Ted?
Middle.
Naomi can, she says.
Gotta be the middle. 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 You cheat.
Good for you. I think you're lying. That picture was taken on my duty between the campaigns of Guadalcanal and the campaign of the Marshall Islands in early '43. I was assigned a clandestine order with a small group of men. And we were sworn to secrecy for 35 years. Well, as 35 years is up, I still have a hard time telling about it. And I'll do that another time. But that was at Guadalcanal. And that picture was taken when we were hush-hush guys. So, oh, I'm in the middle. All right. Never forget, America, how blessed you are. This is by Loretta Diane Walker. It touched my soul when I read it. Someday I'll memorize it, but I can't, and I won't, I guess. Oh, beautiful the song we sing, and it's all because of you. Your unselfish love and devotion to this country, America. America, America, how blessed you are to have such valiant men and women too. They gave their lives for you. Oh, beautiful the veterans' feet that walked to freedom's beat, with determination in their hearts to keep this country free. America, America, how blessed you are to have such valiant men and women too. They gave their lives for you. Oh, beautiful the veterans' dream to uphold all our rights with families left far behind. They marched on to fight and sailed on to fight. America, America, how blessed you are to have such valiant men and women too. They gave their lives for you. Oh, beautiful are those now resting